"14-year-old Nicholas Elizalde had begged his mother to let him play football for years, but she always said no, too worried about the injuries that can come with the sport. But Nick was starting high school in a new area in northern Philadelphia and needed a way to make friends, so she finally let him. On September 27 of 2022, roughly around 3 p.m., 5 teenagers arrived at Roxborough High School in a stolen Ford Explorer. The 5 teenagers waited 60 minutes as they sat outside the school's football field, where hundreds of parents, students, and players gathered for a football scrimmage and waited for the team to finish the game. Just as the game ended and Roxborough players crossed the road to head into the locker room, police say, the 5 shooters jumped out and unleashed more than 60 shots into the crowd. 14-year-old Nicholas Elizalde was struck in the chest. 4 other teens, ages 14 to 17, were injured. One boy was shot 9 times but survived. Police said one of the shooters chased a 17-year-old victim down the street, striking him with shots to the leg and arm, and tried to fire as he stood over the victim. But the gun jammed. The shooters fled in the vehicle, which police found abandoned in southwest Philadelphia. 14-year-old Nicholas Elizalde died in his mother's arms in the back of a police cruiser from the deadly gunshot wound to his chest. He was not the intended target, and he was the only death from the shooting. Eventually, police records showed that investigators identified the suspects in the high school shooting through DNA evidence recovered in the getaway car. Inside, police discovered partially smoked marijuana blunts and a Ziploc bag. Forensic tests on those items found DNA that matched Zaid Jones. They also found fingerprints on a window that matched Daron Bernethorn. The Ford Explorer was equipped with cellular and internet service that tracks the vehicle's location history and all devices connected to it. That data showed that a phone whose owner named the device Northside Day with a number that matched Bernethorn's. Police also recovered crumpled-up receipts for ammunition purchased by 21-year-old Yasin Bivens. They were able to recover video from the gun shop Bivens visited and showed that he and another person arrived at the store and made the purchase. Forensic testing showed those bullets were then used in the shooting. 21-year-old Yasin Bivens, 16-year-old Salim Miller, 15-year-old Troy Fletcher, and 17-year-old Zaid Jones have all been arrested in connection with the shooting. And a year later, the final suspect Daron Bernethorn was tracked down a year later with a $50,000 reward for his capture. When law enforcement arrived at an apartment he was hiding out at, they knocked on Bernethorn's door and he jumped out of a 4th-floor apartment window and fell in front of U.S. Marshals, injuring his legs. He was handcuffed and left on a stretcher to the nearest hospital. Police also linked the suspects to a killing the day before the school shooting, where 19-year-old Samir Jones was walking in front of his home on September 26 around 2 p.m. on the 600 block of North 13th Street when 3 shooters jumped out of a car and shot him more than 20 times.
Philadelphia police have identified 3 of the gunmen seen in this security video during the Roxborough High School shooting that happened on September 27th as the same 3 gunmen who were also captured on camera the day before on North 13th Street near Spring Garden as they allegedly shot 19-year-old Samir Jones more than 24 times and killed him.
Some of them looked like the same ones that jumped out on my son and shot my son.
Jones was Teresa Guyton's son.
Why are these young men just running around causing havoc?
Police identified the suspects in her son's murder as 15-year-old Troy Fletcher, 16-year-old Daron Bernethorn, and 17-year-old Zaid Jones.
It's a relief. It's kind of relief. It's not a day that I don't think about my son being gunned down.
While the motive remains unclear, Jones and Fletcher have been in custody since their arrests in connection to the Roxborough shooting last month. 2 of the suspects they have in custody.
That's good to know.
Samir Jones had just earned his GED and was interested in becoming an electrician. Just 2 years before his death, Samir's oldest brother was fatally shot. And that same year, his 14-year-old stepbrother was killed in a drive-by shooting. Samir's mother was forced to move and she lived in hotels until finally finding a new home the next year. At the time of the high school shooting, 21-year-old Yasin Bivens was awaiting sentencing for an illegal street race in North Philadelphia in July 2020 that ended when his SUV rear-ended another vehicle and then struck a pregnant woman sitting on a wall, killing her baby and critically injuring her.
Police said a man drag racing lost control of his car and slammed into Campbell, who was 7 months pregnant.
I was laying on my stomach. I felt her move. But when they turned me over, I couldn't feel her no more. Like, it didn't feel right. That's when I knew, I'm like, yeah, she's cool.
Police identified the driver in the crash as Yasin Bivens. He was later found guilty of aggravated assault by vehicle, illegal racing, and causing an accident involving death while unlicensed. But as he awaited sentencing, he walked out of the courthouse free on bail after his conviction in August.
He was acquitted of third-degree murder and conspiracy charges in the case. 2 weeks after the Roxborough school shooting, a Philadelphia's deputy sheriff was caught and charged with selling 50 grams of methamphetamine in guns to a confidential FBI informant. In court documents, prosecutors allege 2 of the guns Deputy Ahmad sold to an FBI informant on October 13 were involved in the Roxborough high school shooting. Ahmad had been a sheriff's deputy since February 2018. He had a historically poor record of attendance at work. Court documents say the defendant made $3,000 from the sale of the firearms.
Former Philadelphia Sheriff's Deputy Samir Ahmad was captured on camera during an undercover sting operation by the FBI earlier this month. Court documents obtained by Eyewitness News show still images from the operation of Ahmad allegedly accepting a thick wad of cash after he allegedly sold 2 semi-automatic pistols and ammunition to an undercover agent for about $3,000. After the sale, federal authorities traced the 2 guns and found they were used in the deadly Roxborough high school shooting that killed a 14-year-old boy and injured 4 others. Days after the gun sale with the undercover agent, Ahmad was terminated from the sheriff's office and arrested.
On October 19, 2022, he was terminated from employment with the Philadelphia Sheriff's Office and arrested by federal agents. The Philadelphia Sheriff's Office stated that the defendant made more money through the illegal sale of firearms and drugs than he did by showing up for his job as a sworn law enforcement officer. Officer Ahmad faces up to 25 years in prison and a $500,000 fine. For the year of 2022, Philadelphia surpassed 400 homicides. A total of 516 people were killed in 2021, and the total of 562 the previous year marked the highest in the city in at least 6 decades. Hours before the deadly shooting, the mayor signed an order banning deadly weapons from indoor and outdoor recreational spaces, including parks, basketball courts, and pools.
Damn, David.